Yeah, I mean, he was pushed hard there, wasn't he? And absolutely resolute that he won't change, but he must be suffering deep inside. I'm worried as well. I mean, it is really grim. That first half an hour tonight was hard to watch as a United fan. I think that the thing is, I think we knew a lot of what we actually saw on the pitch was going to happen. I mean, Casemiro and Eriksen in midfield. Jamie Carragher had done a piece in the studio about Mazraoui and Dalot playing wing backs and being more defensive, and that wouldn't lead to goals, which is exactly what happened. I asked Ruben Amorim before the game, at the idea of Xerxes in that sort of left pocket, that's not a left pocket that you stay in. That's a left pocket that means that you have to go and pick up the right back for Newcastle when he goes forward. That's a left pocket that means you have to make runs through. So it's not really, and when he said that he wasn't really a number 9, and that's where he saw him playing, I was surprised. I didn't see any balance in the team selection. So I think that whilst I was a little nervous about Manchester United doing well in this game tonight, before I saw the team sheet, once I saw the team sheet, I was pretty sure that it would be a struggle. And I think a lot of what we saw, we expected. It was a grim night.
Do you think Eriksen and Casemiro can start together in midfield again, Gary?
No. I mean, look, they may have to if there's lots of injuries. But look, we've all been there. You know, we've all been there as football players where you get into your 30s and the last thing you want in your 30s is another player alongside you in your 30s. You know, if I was right back playing for Manchester United at the age of 33, I didn't want a 33-year-old right-sided winger in front of me. I wanted someone who was massively energetic, youthful, quick, to compensate for the things that I don't have anymore. And the last thing that Eriksen wants to see alongside him is someone that's basically got a lack of energy. He wants to see someone who can compensate for the things that he doesn't have, and vice versa with Casemiro. It's not that they're not being great players. It's not that they still can't function in a team in some way. There are players that play for other clubs at the very top who haven't got legs, but they've got people around them who can basically cover for the fact they haven't got legs. They can't play them both together as a two in midfield with those massive gaps that exist. And Old Trafford always feels very big to cover the ground anyway.
Gary, we've been very critical of Manchester United in probably the last 18 months under Erik Ten Hag and how open they were and conceding sort of 20, 30 shots a game. Are Manchester United actually worse right now under Ruben Amorim with the 3-4-3 system?
I mean, there's no doubt it's deteriorated performances and results in this last few weeks. They're finding it very difficult, some of the players, with the system. They're finding it very difficult with the confidence. And the concern is that they're getting dragged into a fight down there near the bottom. But they are at this moment in time. You keep thinking they're going to hit a low point. I mean, I sent through that team this morning of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's last game in charge. And you think that, you know, they're playing against Watford a few years ago, and you're thinking that Manchester United team, to be fair, is not good enough. We all accepted at the time it wasn't good enough. But that was David De Gea in net, who's a better goalkeeper than the one that Manchester United have currently got. It was Lindelof, Maguire, Wan-Bissaka and Shaw, which is a better defensive line than the one that Manchester United have currently got. It was Matic and McTominay in midfield, which is not brilliant, but it's better than Casemiro and Eriksen. And it was Sancho, Rashford, Bruno and Ronaldo up front, which is a better forward line than the one that's currently there. So that's the concerning thing. When you feel that you've got to a point whereby the team can't get any worse, and then you get further investment into the sort of the tune of 450, 500 million, and you see that this current team that's played today and at Wolves, I think that they've got a lot to do, and that is being very, very kind, because I don't think this group of players that are playing at this moment in time are of the quality that the ones that Ten Hag has had, Ole's had, Jose Mourinho's had, or Louis van Gaal. They weren't good enough for Manchester United in those periods, but they were better teams and better squads than the one that currently is in this club.
Well, Gary, the criticism of Manchester United from yourself, as you know Manchester United better than any of us, was that those managers did not have people above them, a sporting director, a structure in the club. We've now had that at Manchester United probably the last 12 months, and it's actually gone worse. I mean, how do you explain that?
Yeah, I don't think it's been for 12 months. I mean, there's no doubt the Dan Ashworth situation has gone badly wrong. I mean, I like Dan a lot. He's brought in, he's someone who's very stable, very calm, has actually, to be fair, helped mould this current sort of Newcastle project that we're seeing before our eyes. Obviously, Eddie Howe was there before, but the type of signings that they made when The Saudi Arabian owners came in. We all expected it to be a bit of an extravaganza and sort of splashing the cash, but they've signed some very solid characters. So I was quite enthused when Dan Ashworth came into the club that there would be someone there to say no, that would know not to waste money. Obviously, then you have Jason Wilcox, who's highly thought of, Omar Barada, who was well thought of at Manchester City. You know, they've only been in, to be fair to them, 5 or 6 months. Obviously, Dan Ashworth's now gone, which is, like I say, that's gone badly wrong. But it's only been 5 or 6 months, and it's obviously, I mean, they'll be thinking it's going backwards to go forwards. They're obviously making huge changes on the pitch. They're making huge changes in the football department. They're making huge changes off the pitch as well. And there is some real pain, and there are some real unpopular decisions that are being made, some of which I don't agree with myself at all. But the reality of it is decisions are being made. I mean, for about 8 years, there was nothing happening. There was one guy there at the top that was, to be fair, being sort of supported by the Glazer family, and he just continued to make the same mistake after mistake. At least there are things happening, whether you agree with them or not. But there are... I mean, it's concerning. It can be nothing other than concerning at what's happening at this moment in time, because what's happening on the pitch is really desperate. I mean, that first half an hour tonight, I mean, I know there's been some bad moments in the last 10 years, but that was pretty low.
But Gary, given what happened to Dan Ashworth, who you just referenced, who we thought was going to be there for a long time, and then this sort of snap decision seemed to come out of nowhere, and suddenly he was gone. Is there any doubt in your mind that if it did get worse here for Ruben Amorim, and he's talking about it himself, they're in a relegation battle, in his words, if it did get worse, do you think they would stick with him whatever happened this season?
I mean, whatever happened, I mean, probably not. But I mean, I can't. They're going to support him, aren't they? I mean, their mindset is such now that they're going to dig in, support the manager, get him through maybe a transfer window in January. I'm not sure there's that much money to spend in January because they're on the edge of FFP. But then obviously get to the summer, and there's going to have to be a huge overhaul again. And like you say, I mean, look, I'll throw it back to yourselves. I mean, Carol, where did you have Manchester United? I had them in the top 4, obviously.
We're going to get to that in about 10 minutes.
Gary, can I just ask you, talk about a January window. If there was a little bit of money they could find, where would you be spending it right now? What is going to help this team in the short term?
Definitely the positions that, I mean, look, you could say centre forward, let's get a world-class centre forward, let's get Isak in, but that's never going to happen. I think if you were starting, you'd have to start with the fundamentals of this system, which is the wing-backs. They hold it together. If you don't have the wing-backs functioning up and down that are able to attack and defend equally as good, and there aren't many of those around, by the way, because there aren't many teams that play wing-back, then you're going to struggle. So you need 2 quite unique players in those wide areas, and I think that will be the starting point. And that's nothing against Mazraoui or Dalot. I think they're very willing and doing the job the very best that they can. But they're, to me, the areas that I would start in this system.
Gary, stay where you are, because we are very excited to see where you've got Manchester United at the end of this season.
Can I finish, Dave? Dave. Sorry, let me finish. Where did Carragher have Manchester United at the start of the season in his predictions? Was it 5th?
I think...
Well, it definitely wasn't above Liverpool.
Listen, we'll tease that, Gary. We'll tease it, Gary.
You had them 5th, so not even you expected them to be this bad.
Just keep talking.
Time for our predictions then. Let's remind you all and remind them what they thought was going to happen. This was from August when they decided the champions would be, Jamie, Manchester City. Gary said Arsenal.
Forest will go down.
Second to 4th. Gary's got Manchester United in there, as you can see, in 3rd place in the league, and Jamie had them just outside, top 5. And Gary had Liverpool in 5th position. You went for West Ham as your European contender.
Well, he did spend more money than anybody in Europe, and he did have a manager who'd managed Spain and Real Madrid, and I thought he'd have a decent season.
Gary, are you quite proud of your predictions so far from the start of the season?
Yeah, the only one that's let me down is United, to be honest with you. Everything else is spot on. Yeah, I mean, Liverpool, I thought that they would have a real hangover after Jurgen Klopp leaving, and that's why you'll see I've corrected that in a bit with Arne Slot's been the manager of the season so far. I mean, Nuno obviously is a huge contender, but I did feel that Liverpool would drop off, and for them to be so far in front and now favourites for the title is an unbelievable performance, and I didn't expect that.
We're going to see each other on Sunday for Liverpool Manchester United. Do you remember you had a bet with me at the start of the season? Can you make that out at the weekend for charity?
Yeah, I'll pay early. I'll be like the bookmaker that used to pay out on United at Christmas.
Yeah.
Right, let's fast forward then to their predictions. We've given them the chance to amend what they decided at the start of the season, or indeed to stick with it. So let's have a look then. Champions, Jamie has boldly gone for Liverpool, who are 8 points clear, and Gary, you are steadfastly sticking with Arsenal. Tell us why.
I think that sometimes to go through the pain. Look, Liverpool are massive favourites and they're in great form, but there's still a long way to go. Arsenal have been through the mill the last couple of years. They've sort of gone to the wire, and sometimes when you win your first title, it doesn't happen in sometimes the most expected way, and things can happen. I mean, the
what could derail
Liverpool's to
Liverpool?
lose.
Sorry, Gary. What could derail Liverpool?
Yeah, Van Dijk. I mean, that's the thing that, to be fair, I think sticks out for me, that Van Dijk got injured, and then I think it would be a completely different story. That 6 points that Arsenal can go to, I think, in a couple of days' time, which, could happen, then I think would dwindle away quite quickly if Virgil van Dijk, he's such an immense player for them. I think they've proven they can live without Alisson, who I think was equally as important maybe a couple of years ago, but I think now with Kelleher backing him up, then they've got that covered. I think up front they've got great options. Salah would be a big blow, he's just world class, but they've got Jota, Diaz, Gakpo, Nunez. And the thing about Liverpool at the moment is, just said it up on the podcast up there, is that when each of them score, they look as happy for each other. And that's a worrying sign for the rest. They all look like they've got buying into each other. And the fact that I think when you see someone score a goal, Salah looks happy when Diaz scores, and vice versa. It looks like they've got something really going up there between them as a group of players.
So you're not taking into account Saka's injury?
Yeah, I mean, look, things are going against Arsenal at this moment in time, and like you say, they're hanging in there, but they're the only team that can take it off Liverpool. I think I'm surprised about Chelsea's defeats in the last couple of games, but I'd never thought they would win the title this season. I think it's brilliant doing what they're doing, but I just think that Arsenal, they have got a resilience to them. They have got a back four that can hold it together and I think get through games, and I do think they'll attack better in the next part of the season. So I think they'll hang in there, and if they can just get close towards the end, it could be that they could hunt Liverpool down. That's what I'm hoping for.
Let's go second to fourth and see if Manchester United are still in Gary's top four predictions. They've slipped out. You've got Liverpool in second place, Gary, followed by Chelsea and Manchester City. In fact, you've all got the same top four, but in a slightly different order. So let's move on to top five. You've gone for Newcastle, Jamie, and Aston Villa for Gary. Given Gary what you've seen from Newcastle tonight, would you stick with Villa?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with Villa. I think that Unai Emery just has a habit. I think when the Champions League maybe, I think they'll go out obviously at some point, February, March. Is what I would predict. And I hope they don't. I hope they go all the way and win it. But if they basically sort of drop out of it in February, March, I just think he's the type, Unai Emery, that will get them, really sort of cracking towards the end of the season. I think they'll finish strong, and I think they'll get into that fifth spot.
I just fancy Newcastle. They don't have the European situation. They could go a little bit further in the Carabao Cup, but I just look at Villa, they just can't quite get going. They'll win again and losing tonight. It feels like it's happened a lot this season. They've been in front of home and being pegged back and draw games that they should have won. And it just looks to me like Newcastle are just getting into a real run of form. And when I look at that midfield and look at Isak up front, it's looking pretty special.
We were talking earlier about Nottingham Forest and what chance they had of clinging on to a Champions League football position. As you can see, neither have got them in their top five for Champions League, but both have got them finishing sixth place, which would be European football. And I suppose, Jamie, it's still an extraordinary achievement, given where they've come from.
Yeah, it would be. I think most people, even Nottingham Forest, would expect, that the people we've got in the top four to finish above them. Newcastle winning tonight obviously closes that gap. But in terms of other teams who might think they have a chance, in terms of, we've spoken about Fulham and Bournemouth, Aston Villa drop points tonight. I think Nottingham Forest have got a sizable lead right now with only half a season to go. And if they can get anywhere near what they've done, they can make it really difficult for those teams.
So I'm wondering where Man United are. I'm wondering if they could be in this final reveal.
Oh, Dave. Are we getting an apology to Nottingham Forest fans for the fact that...
Let's see, Gary, come on. Why do you think that they need an apology?
Well, I mean, Cara had them going down at the start of the season. I mean, going down
Oh,
is
sorry,
spectacular.
whoa. I thought the apology was for the carry on over him with Mark Clattenburg last season. And all that type of stuff. You had to apologise to the club, didn't you?
We don't need to revisit that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll get
I'll put you on the back foot. You're looking a bit stunned. Let's go to the relegation.
My lawyers aren't present. My lawyers aren't present at this moment in time.
This is what happens when you bring Neville and Carragher together. You always end up regretting it. Right, so relegated then. We don't have Manchester United there either, but we've got to the promoted three in both. OK, so Gary, let me come to you. If one of those was to escape, Southampton, Ipswich and Leicester, who do you think it would have the best chance of climbing out of that?
Between Ipswich and Leicester, obviously, I'm just trying to think. Massive win for Ipswich against Chelsea tonight, and something like that started to happen, and the atmosphere down there, that could become quite special. I was at Leicester yesterday. I actually thought they played quite well against Manchester City and had moments in the game. So I'd like them both to stay up, but they obviously won't. I don't think that's the issue. I'll go just Leicester. Just a bit more sort of experience of the league. I'll go Leicester if there's one team going to get out of it.
You agree, Jamie?
I'm not sure. I mean, I've been really worried for Leicester since Ruud van Nistelrooy came in, even though some of the results have been really good. And Gary's right, the performance was really good against Man City. I actually thought that was more of a worry for Man City going forward, really, because I think Leicester have given up a lot of opportunities, shots, big chances in all the games they've played in, really, bar the Manchester City one. And I think because Leicester expect to stay up, at times there can maybe be a bit of negativity. They've already changed the manager because they expect to stay up. Ipswich have only won their second game of the season tonight, but there's still that feel-good factor. Or the third, sorry.
First home game.
First home game, sorry. But there's still that feel-good factor. If they have a few bad results, they're not going to get too down on themselves. They're not going to be too negative. Whereas I feel at Leicester, I think the crowd can become a little bit negative.
Sure. Here's a continuation that maintains the narrative flow while incorporating more elements of the situation and its repercussions. As the final whistle blew, the disappointment among United fans was palpable. The team, once a symbol of dominance in English football, now finds itself mired in mediocrity. The media scrutiny has intensified, with headlines questioning Amorim's tactics and the overall direction of the club. The mounting pressure on the manager is further complicated by the dissatisfaction among key players, some of whom have publicly expressed their desire for a change. Amidst the turmoil, whispers of potential transfers in the January window have begun to circulate. The United hierarchy faces urgent questions about how to rejuvenate a squad that appears devoid of confidence and creativity. Many are calling for a reinvestment in talent to complement the existing players. Chido Obermartin, a promising talent from Arsenal's academy, could be one of the few bright spots if given the opportunity, but the reliance on untested youth is a gamble. Meanwhile, Newcastle's triumph has amplified the contrast between the two clubs. Once viewed as rivals, the Magpies are now soaring under the management of Eddie Howe, who has instilled a sense of resilience and ambition within his squad. Their supporters have taken to social media, relishing the success while mocking United's plight, further deepening the wounds for those who have watched their team stumble. As fans exited Old Trafford, the chants of Dimitido de Manha, sacked in the morning, echoed among the travelling Newcastle supporters, a biting reminder of the potential fate that awaits Amorim if results do not improve. The once invincible fortress of Old Trafford has become a venue where defeat feels increasingly inevitable. Former players and pundits have been vocal in their critiques, with many urging the board to reconsider their approach. The club's identity, built on a legacy of attacking football and relentless pursuit of victory, seems to be fading. The glaring absence of a coherent strategy has left supporters questioning the club's ambitions and future. In the coming weeks, the stakes could not be higher. Matches against lower-tier teams will become crucial. Failure to secure points could see United dragged further into the relegation battle. The spectre of relegation, once unthinkable for a club of this stature, now looms large. Fans are rallying together, hoping for a turnaround but bracing themselves for the worst. The disillusionment is evident in their faces as they traverse the streets of Manchester, once proud but now filled with uncertainty. As the January transfer window approaches, the future of the club hangs in the balance. The call for urgent action is louder than ever. Will United find the necessary reinforcements to climb out of this abyss, or will they continue to sink further into despair? The answers lie ahead, but the path to redemption will be a challenging one. Let me know if you'd like to add anything else.